Hey guys, so I recently spent over $15,000 on a course to learn how to scale and grow marketing agencies. So, for those of you who don't know me, I run Vendor Launch, which is an agency that I started that works with Amazon vendors to grow their purchase orders. And so, funnily enough, when I first started Vendor Launch, I had no idea what a marketing agency even was. So I had worked at Amazon for around 2.5 years, but during that time working at Amazon, I had never really worked with any marketing agencies. The clients I worked with typically did everything in house because they were massive conglomerate international companies. And so because they did things in house, I didn't have any exposure to any marketing agencies. So it was completely foreign to me. And when I started Vendor Launch, which was now, 6 months ago or so, I initially thought I had discovered some new business model where instead of selling physical products on Amazon, I could sell my time and expertise. So, as a business model, I didn't have to take any inventory, I didn't have to deal with warehousing, um, nothing to do with the physical product or brick and mortar location. Instead, as a business model, Vendor Launch, I would sell time and expertise that I had learned at Amazon, and I would sell that to Amazon vendors to grow their accounts. And so that was the business model that I started. And so getting pretty good client results, so driving POs, increasing Amazon vendor businesses wasn't really a major hurdle because I had spent 2.5 years at Amazon learning how to do that. And so I have a pretty good understanding of Amazon systems and how they work. But but there were many things I had absolutely no experience with when it came to running a marketing agency. And so I had to start learning all of that from scratch. For example, I had to learn client acquisitions. How do I find clients? Onboarding, operations, streamlining all of it, building systems, to find clients, deliver results, internal systems, and then also hiring people, training, delegating work to contractors, employees, registering companies, bookkeeping, business. All these things I had no idea how to do. So I had to learn them from scratch. The other thing I learned, and this is more high level, is delivering great results to a handful of clients is one thing. So building like kind of like a prototype to a handful of clients is one thing, but to produce great results at scale is a completely different ballgame. Like not even close in difficulty. Like Elon Musk, for example, he says this one thing where you can build a prototype, but to manufacture that prototype at scale is like infinitely harder. And I found that to also be the case with the service based business. But this whole process of learning, I find extremely addicting and fulfilling. And so it's all fun. Going back to that 15K course that I purchased, was it helpful? Sort of. To be honest, I find that I learn best when I actually attempt to do something firsthand and I dive into the deep end and I make the mistakes in actually trying to do that very thing that I'm learning. The alternative, learning secondhand through courses, through books, through other people's experiences, I do not find as useful. I find it more useful to actually do the thing that I'm trying to learn. An example of that is some of you might know before I started Vendor Launch, I ran a small wetsuit repair business where I would fix people's wetsuits in person and I would kind of charge them for that. And I remember that one of the very first customers I had, I made a mistake which ended up breaking his wetsuit. Um, Initially, most of the customers I had, I would repair tears in the wetsuits, which were pretty straightforward. But then I wanted to learn how to work with zippers and how to repair zippers. And so I took on this customer to try and fix his. He had an issue with the zipper where it wouldn't close, and then I kind of messed it up. Ended up breaking the zipper. The wetsuit would not. It would just leak water and it was pretty much useless. So I broke his wetsuit, and that was a fun conversation. But I then had to fly to Melbourne to have it professionally repaired by someone who actually knew what they were doing, because it was cheaper to fly. I live in Sydney. It was cheaper to fly from Sydney to Melbourne, two different cities in Australia. It's like a 2-hour flight. It was cheaper to fly from Sydney to Melbourne and have it professionally repaired by someone who knew what they were doing, and then to fly back to Sydney where I live, than it was to buy him a new wetsuit. Massive ordeal, completely crazy story. I can go into that. It deserves its own video entirely. But this entire experience, that I had during the weekend, taught me like so much more than any book or course ever could have. And so this is what I'm talking about when I say, learning firsthand I find to be far better of a teacher. Making mistakes is a far better teacher than, learning through books or courses. And so going back to Vendor Launch, what this means is that every dollar that Vendor Launch makes, I pretty much reinvest back into the business. Specifically through learning new skills, developing a better and better product that we then apply to Amazon vendors, which only increases the rate of growth of our clients. I don't really like going on holidays or shopping. I'm a bit crazy like that. So this makes prioritizing the business pretty easy. And so I reinvest pretty much everything back into the business. Every dollar I spend, pretty much I ask the question, will this lead to a better product for our vendors? If the answer is yes, then I buy that product. I buy that course, service, whatever it is, I do it, regardless of how much it costs, such as that 15K course that I bought. If the answer to that question is no, spending this money will not lead to a better product, then I just don't spend it. And so I guess over the next 20 years, my sole focus is to create the best possible product for Amazon vendors. And so this product, right, the idea is to help vendors sell more products, increase their purchase orders, grow at a faster rate, and to grow more profitably than they otherwise could have. And so every dollar that Vendor Launch does ultimately feeds back into that purpose. And so that's pretty much it. As always, let me know if you have any questions. Bit of a different video, just going into, I guess, my motivations and what I do, why I do what I do. But thanks and have a great week.